Hey, hello, Bird697 here. So I was having a shower, right? We'll just jump straight into it. I was having a shower, and I was thinking to myself, what am I gonna tell my family that I'm doing in my life? Because we have a little group. We have a little group meeting. No meeting. We're having a little family gathering, with some cousins, my auntie, their husbands, their whatever, whatever, whatever. It's gonna be a lot of people there, and inevitably the question is gonna come up: how am I doing? How are things going? You know, what am I doing in my life? You know. And I was thinking in the shower, what would I say to them? Because I'm not doing anything too spectacular. I'm not pursuing a job at this point in time. Um, I'm in education. I'm in training. Digital marketing, if you must know. Uh, but yeah, I'm not pursuing anything I don't think they would value, really and truthfully, right? Well, they might value it, but it's not tangible. It's not material. It's not something they can hold on to and take for themselves and take advantage of as well. You know, what I'm actually working on, and I realize what I'm actually working on, what I'm actually doing with my life at this current point in time, is I'm trying to rebuild myself. I'm trying to build myself up and recover from from weed addiction, recover from psychosis. There's a lot of different things. And I realize the action I'm going to take towards recovery is through self-expression, right? So yeah, I wanted to I'm probably going to let them know that yeah, it's not like I need their validation. I just want to make that clear. I don't want their validation, but I don't want to be left with nothing to say, right? I don't want to be sitting there just like, I'm just twiddling my thumbs, not making any progress or anything. Because obviously progress is you want your family members to know you've been making progress, to know that you're doing well, right? And I have been. But more on that self-expression aspect, I think it's really important for me as a man to actually express myself and learn how to express myself. As I've mentioned in previous videos, men have the power to build and destroy. It's the power of creation and destruction, right? And it's going to come out and show up and it's going to show up. It's inevitable. That's what we do as men. That's our nature, right? To build and destroy, to gather, hunt and kill, provide, protect and destroy, protect and provide, you know, kill and destroy. It's arbitrary. It's kind of, that's a binary, surface level, nature of man, but it rings true. But point being, like, if we don't express ourselves authentically in a way that in a healthy way, in a way that resonates with our spirit, resonates with our thumos, our myth, our legend of being seen and recognized, right? If we don't express ourselves in those ways, then they're gonna come out in sinister ways. They're gonna come out in sinister ways. That's exactly what happened to me. I realized I realized this because I realized that self-expression is the way forward. Because as a child, I realized I was shy and I was afraid of what people would think. I was afraid of how people would laugh if I, presented my ideas or expressed myself fully. I was afraid to be perceived, afraid of being embarrassed, right? So I stayed mysterious to the point I became a mystery to myself. I stopped trying to learn about myself and tried to fit in and please people's perceptions of what I am, instead of actually going out into the world and developing a personality for myself, developing that confidence in my own identity, right? So that's why for me, obviously that led to me repressing, my emotions, my inhibitions I repressed my personality. I repressed my soul. And what does that lead to? That leads to depression. That leads to depression. That led to, seeking out other forms of um, fulfillment, right? And usually it goes into the negative way. As I got older, I realized weed was the only thing that could actually alleviate my symptoms of fear and embarrassment. I did things that I was too afraid to do. Um, when I started smoking weed, the first time I tried it, I realized, boom, that was like a light bulb moment. I was like, this is it. This is it. I'm gonna go out there and hug the girl. I ain't gonna be afraid of what she says. I ain't gonna be afraid of how I look. I'm gonna seek out. I'm gonna seek it out, and not be ashamed of myself for seeking it out. So it's important. It's important. And I realized that weed aspect, that what that gave me was, I guess confidence. It alleviated that idea of shame and guilt and fear, right? But that's what I mean. It crops up in negative ways. If you don't know how to express yourself, if you don't express yourself authentically or healthily, then you're gonna look for something outside of yourself to fulfill that emptiness inside you, right? So that's what I realized. And like I said, if you don't express yourself, it's gonna come out in more sinister ways. Lust is one of them. For me personally, I found pornography when I was super young, maybe 6 to 8 years old, and that completely tainted and perverted my mind. Even to this day, I'm still struggling with it so heavily. Not pornography itself. I don't really masturbate as much as I used to, if at all. Literally maybe once a month or something, maybe twice a month. Like this month, I only masturbated twice. I don't know why I'm being so personal, but yeah, that's what it is. It's like I'm not ashamed to admit it. That's part of the problem. Being ashamed is why we can't get out of it. That shame, we cling on to that. There's that association. You feel good, boom, PMO, boom, and then that shame follows after. That shame is associated with those positive emotions. So when we feel shame, we feel like we need to go back to that dopamine hit. We need to go back to PMO to get that hit to feel better. But it doesn't work. That's not how it works. It's unexpressed. It's unexpressed emotion. It's unexpressed intimacy. It's a yearning for something more than yourself, right? It's a yearning for validation from someone else, to be appreciated and loved for who you are. It's good, man.